Dear Diary, today I have to tell you my biggest, most secretest secret. I know I promised that I would never tell anyone, but after tonight it won't matter anymore. The first thing that I have to tell you is that there's a magic fairyland not far from where I live. It's not hard to find, but there's a magical doorway and you have to be very special to see it. And of course you have to know the secret words. Oh, and you have to spin the right number of times, but that's another secret. But in this fairyland, which is the most beautiful place on the whole earth, there live pixies who hide in the rocks, and there's a singing tree that will dance with me, but only when I'm wearing my magic crown, and even then only if I ask very, very politely and address it by its proper name, which is only known to very special people, and there are many other secret places that I'm not allowed to tell the stupid people because that would ruin everything. I had known about the fairyland for what must be a year, but it seems like much longer because I feel like I grow much older whenever I am there. So while it may only seem like a day in the outside world, I'm certain that months pass when I'm there because I have too many adventures for just one day. And it was on one of those adventures when I was trying to save the pond people from the vicious rapskull that was eating all of their ruby carrots that I first saw Julia. She had climbed up a tree and was singing a magical song, both of which surprised me because I had never seen anyone from the outside world in the fairyland, and even if I did, I would not expect them to be singing or in a tree. At first I was scared of her and was afraid that she would think me silly if she knew that I could see that magic land, because most of the stupid people think I am silly when I try to tell them about all the wonderful things that I have seen and done here. But she was so pretty, the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. And the song she was singing was so beautiful that I just had to watch her. So I put on my magic ring, which makes me invisible when I'm in the fairyland, and hid behind a bush. But she still saw me and called to me to come over to her. Because, you see, Julia could also see the fairyland. And she knew more about it than me because she's older. And she even told me that I had some of the names wrong and that if you don't know the right names, then you can't make all the magic. So from that day on, Julia and I became very special princesses in the fairyland, and all the pond people even held a special party so that they could give us our new magic crowns. And every Saturday we would meet in the fairyland and we would go on the most wonderful adventures to see flying horses and singing flowers and all that stuff. But one afternoon, after we had finished dancing with the Polytwoos, Julia said that she had to go on a special adventure by herself for a little while, and she told me that I had to wait by the clumpump tree until she got back. And if I did that, she would show me a new magic dance that we could do with the clouds because she had learned that they were watching us. But that would only happen if I did as she told me, which I should anyway because she was older than me and knew more things. So I sat down under the clumpump tree and watched her run off through the bushes. But very soon I got bored because there are really only so many stories that you can tell the clumpump tree before it falls asleep. And so I got up to go looking for Julia. And as I was wandering, I began to hear Julia, and it sounded like she was singing a song. And it must have been a very magical song because I had never heard anything like it before. So I followed the song until I could see her standing in the little ravine where she told me that the gobos came to dance. It was Julia, but it wasn't Julia. There was light all around her, and her skin was so white and smooth and perfect. And she was kneeling in front of a tall, dark man. But with my crown on and my fairy eyes, I could see that he wasn't really a man. And as Julia prayed to him, she sang the most beautiful song, and then the man began to sing with her, and it was like all the light of the sun and the moon combined, and then he began to change, and he grew even taller until he was bigger than the trees, and I could see his real face. Not his stupid man face, but the one he kept hidden. And it was scary looking at first, but then it was beautiful. It was the most beautiful face I had ever seen, and I was so filled with happiness that I squealed, which was a stupid little girl thing to do. It is not the way a real princess behaves. And Julia and the goat man turned, and they saw me, and the goat man turned back into a stupid man, and he ran off. And Julia ran over to me, and she was so mad, and her face was red, and she shouted at me. And I said I was sorry and began to cry because she was so mad, and she said it was okay as long as I promised not to tell anyone. Then we held hands and we walked back to our fairy house under the laughing tree, and she told me that the man was really the king of the Shaylee, and that if I was really good and didn't tell anyone, then she would show me the magic song that could bring the Shaylee king back. But that if I did tell anyone, then they would hunt down the king and they would try to kill him just so that they could steal his teeth, because they are very, very powerful, and that's what people do to Shaylee. And I told her that I promised the biggest promise I could ever make, and that I wouldn't tell anyone, not even the Mr. Bunkins who lives in the tree outside my bedroom window. And she showed me the special dances that the king had taught her, and when we did them, I could feel the magic filling up my heart, and it made my body tingle and glow and float, and it was wonderful. And so we set out to meet the Shaylee king. We had to be at a certain tree, I am not allowed to tell you which one, at a certain time of day, because the shadows have to be just right in order for the Shaylee king to open the door. And as soon as we're certain that we're all alone, we sing a special song that is the invocation of the Shaylee king. And we do a very special dance with even more spinning than is needed to open the fairyland in the first place. And when we did just that and had spun so many times that my head just flew off my body, the tree grew big and dark and the branches began to shake. And then, right out of the center of the tree, a glowing door opened and the Shaylee king stepped right through it. And even though he may have looked just like any old stupid man, when you had on the magic crown, you could see that he was something else. And he knelt down and spoke to me, and his voice was very quiet to my ears, but inside my head it was loud and deep, and you could tell when you looked into his eyes that he was most definitely a king. He said that he was very honored to meet someone who knew so much about the fairyland, and that he was very proud of Julia for being able to find me. And he said that now that the three of us were finally together, we could make the fairyland the great and wonderful place that it used to be before all the stupid people came and ruined it. But first I had to pass a test to make sure that I really was powerful enough to fight for the fairyland. And when I did in fact pass the test, he said that he was very happy to find someone as special as me. And then, to celebrate, we played a game that I'm not allowed to talk about, for if I did, all of the singing trees in the fairyland would call me nasty names and I wouldn't be allowed to visit them. But it was the most fun game I've ever played. But then it was getting late, and Julia and I had to go back to the stupid outside world, or else our parents were going to get worried. So the Shaylee king said goodbye and bowed to us, and it made me so happy that I squealed again, which I must remember not to do anymore. And he promised to come to meet us whenever he could, and Julia and I went home, and I was sad but so happy at the same time. And when I got home, I was so excited that I wanted to tell everyone about meeting the Shaylee king. But I knew that it would ruin everything, so I tried to be a very smart princess and kept my secret deep inside me, even though I thought I was going to explode. And so, over the next few months, according to the outside world, of course, Julia and I would meet the Shaylee king in the fairyland, always at the secret times. And the king showed us all these special songs and dances and special games that only the most royal princesses of the fairyland know. And he took us to all these secret places that were so secret that even the Pobo people and the Gum-Gums didn't know about them. And we did so many wonderful things together and went on so many wonderful adventures that I feel like I could fill up this whole diary writing about them. But I'm not allowed to do that, and I don't have the time anyway. Because, you see, Julia told me yesterday that the Shaylee king told her that the fairyland was in danger. She said that the brown giants who can shoot fire from their fingertips and the Foobies who have eyes so dark that it's like looking into a bottomless pit in the middle of the darkest night had found the Shaylee king, and that they were going to hunt him down to steal his teeth, just like he said they would. So we had to help him. And that in order to do that, we had to go to a very magical castle in a faraway kingdom. And that the Shaylee king was going to take us there in a giant flying fish, and that once we were there, we could all live in the magic castle forever and play games for as long as we wanted, and that we would become real princesses and all the people of the fairyland would love us. I will be very sad to leave my family behind, but the Shaylee king needs our help, and Julia and I are the only ones who can help him, and we simply must save the fairyland or there won't be any magic left in the world. And now I must go. I've packed my 2 prettiest dresses, just like the Shaylee king told me to, and it is almost the secret time when the shadows are just right. So I have to go find Julia and the king and begin my new life as the most secret princess of them all. forever and ever.